Daily Bible Time, Monday morning, and what a great weekend we had at Refresh. Our church weekend away last weekend, lots of fantastic memories, and so terrific to be able to sing outdoors at the YouthWorks Conference Centre down at Deer Park. Now, we are looking at the trial of Jesus in Daily Bible Time today. On Friday, we saw that the initial set of charges against Jesus failed because the witnesses were inconsistent. They couldn't get two witnesses to agree on the details, so the charges were dismissed as false, and so then a second round of witnesses come forward, and we're looking at that today. We're picking up the narrative in Mark 14, verse 57. Some stood up and gave false testimony against him, stating, "We heard him say, 'I'll destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I'll build another not made by hands.' Yet their testimony did not agree, even on this." So, this accusation, firstly, is labelled as false. And yet, we're scratching our heads thinking, well, what exactly did Jesus say? Because he did say something kind of similar, or what did he say? And so you go back looking at John chapter 2, verse 19. And I remember having to go and look this up and think this through the very first time when I came across this passage in Mark. Jesus was in the Jerusalem temple courts in John chapter 2, and then an exchange took place, and he just cleared the temple out. And verse 18 of John 2, the Jews responded to him, "What sign can you show to prove your authority to do this?" And Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." You want to know what my authority, what my sign is? The resurrection. When you destroy this temple, I'll raise it up. They replied, "It's taken 46 years to build this temple, and you're going to raise it in 3 days." But the temple he had spoken of was his body. And after he was raised from the dead, I'm reading John 2, his disciples recalled what he'd said. Then they believed the scripture and the words that Jesus had spoken. And you think, okay, I get how they understood it subsequently, but how did people understand it at the time? See, after the resurrection, those words we understand to refer, the temple is his body, but those who were present at the time could well have heard a threat to the temple sanctuary itself. And when Jesus spoke in John, he was effectively saying, well, you destroy this temple and I will raise it up. But they didn't hear it like that, or at least they didn't take it like that, or at least they chose not to take it like that. And throughout the Greco-Roman world of the time, to destroy, to act physically against a place of worship, well, that was a capital offence. And so you can see why they're pushing this line of argument. When the prophet Jeremiah announced the catastrophe which would overtake the temple, he was seized and brought before the royal court as a criminal who deserved to die. The commentator William Lane says the mere threat of violence against the temple might well seem to the Sanhedrin to be a crime meriting the death penalty. But you keep reading here in Mark's Gospel, and the verdict announced in verse 64, well, if it had been secured on this evidence, well, then that would have been a gross injustice, because Jesus had no intention of destroying the temple sanctuary. We saw at the start of Mark 13 that he expected its destruction as the judgment of God, but the evidence is not decisive. There's still no verdict. Verse 60, the high priest stood up before them all, questioned Jesus, "Don't you have an answer to what these men are testifying against you?" But he kept silent and did not answer. Now, we'll return to the trial of Jesus tomorrow on Daily Bible Time. Jesus actually was required by law to answer the accusations against him, so his refusal to answer them frustrates the council. As Lane notes, by his silence he deprives the court of exploiting the evidence that's been given against him, and the proceedings at the end of verse 61 are at a deadlock. More tomorrow on Daily Bible Time.